Welcome to Rauta's Death Metal Duel Review, meaning we have two different split EPs here for review, and both of these are more or less collector's items that is limited to low amount of items here. One from United States featuring Perversion and Pyromancer, and then one from Finland, Sepulchral Curse and Ashen Tomb. Curious enough, two bands from USA, both death metal. Two bands from Finland, both death metal. And also what is curious is that this one, for example, Perversion is a little bit older band, a couple of albums out and 10 EPs and what have you. And then Pyromancer, which is barely even born, very much in the diaper era still yet. Similar thing here also, because Sepulchral Curse has been over 10 years in the action, made an album and more like that. And then Ashen Tomb is just making their first album, already made but out year 2024. So a newborn and a little bit more than not less than a teenager, and same thing here as well. Well, let's first unbox these babies before we talk about the details in the music and all that stuff. As you can see, Perversion and Pyromancer come with the old school cover, Subjugation through Cruelty, which is very much the name here, and has 3 songs, one by Perversion and 2 by Pyromancer. And pretty simplistic, pretty straightforward, classic kind of output. You have black, white, red, the kind of a classic for a lot of war metal bands and all that stuff. Comes with lyrics, track lists, and liner notes. And as you can pretty much figure it out, yes, it's simple, back to the old school ways, and this is how 7-inch EPs look. You can already see some dust particles right there, which is weird because I barely even played this for a few times, and of course my LP player was right there behind. Then we have Sepulchral Curse and Ashen Tomb with Ashen Curse. Nice wordplay if you count into word bands. And then you have also kind of an old school cover, not anything fancy, definitely not AI made, just simple, you know, kind of a Lovecraftian feeling to it. Both have one song, less than 6 minutes each, so not exactly short and sweet, but kind of still not over the top. Both have their liner notes and lineups presented here with a couple of skulls. Then we have a band photo number 1, band photo number 2. This is Ashen Tomb in case you're wondering. Then of course the cover, the track list, and what I just showed you. So this is the case. What can we expect? What can we talk about the stuff here? Well, let's first tackle Perversion versus Pyromancer. This is basically two bands going very, very old school ways, heavy and all that stuff. You can find a little bit trashiness in the music, meaning this is very, very old school, more in my opinion also like 80s death metal in that sense, because you have the kind of a vibe there. Now, if only you would play this lower speed, which is something that I unfortunately originally did, you would get a kind of a ball thrower-ish feeling. I'm talking about the two first album with Pyromancer, maybe a little bit with that with Perversion, but when you actually play them with the real speed, of course the speed comes up and you will find there's a little bit trashiness as opposed to what could you feel like it's Death Doom. I mean, basically they sound good either way, but the point here is of course to play it at decent right speed and all that stuff. So Perversion is a little bit punkier, Pyromancer is a little bit trashier. So I don't really agree with the take of Black Death with Pyromancer, but sure I get the aesthetics can a little bit mess up your head, because you kind of get the feeling it's kind of war metallic, and because of the faster pace, certain riffs might give you a little bit, it's just really death black. I would say it's kind of a far-stretched thing to call it that far, but then again, it doesn't also matter. What have you is old school feeling, and whether you call it black trash, or not black trash, but black death or death thrash, goes beyond the point. Old school as fuck, simplistic, aggressive, and all that. Now, when we come to play in Finland, Sepulchral Curse and Ashen Tomb, things get a little bit different. First of all, the Sepulchral Curse is more like a old school death metal, but with a little bit of a kind of a homemade sound. Very demo-ish approach compared to what they have done with album and all. Vocals are like sewer kind of stuff. You're like hearing a monster coming from a dungeon or sewer, and you're like, nope, I'm not gonna go into the lair of Killer Croc, or whatever there is. Now, lots of these riffs are kind of a basic, bulk type of death metal riffing. Nothing bad with that, but then again, also nothing standing out of ordinary. I mean, Basically, Sepulchral Curse have done so much better. This is more like for collectors only. It's not a bad track as such, but it's like, should, come with a better, more powerful sound. Now it's just kind of a sloppier version what they have done. Just my take. Feel free to disagree. The same thing unfortunately goes with Ashen Tomb. Like once again, the growly vocals are pretty good. They could be, I don't know, more bestial or deep, especially if you start comparing to Sepulchral Curse, but they do their job just fine. And when it comes to the riffs, certain riffs are like really good, but they are filled, almost like buried in those filler parts, where you feel like maybe that 6-minute song is just too much. Go with the best riffs, do it in 3 minutes, and then you nail it. Now it's more like stretching, much like this video. I could say all of the details in 2 minutes and gonna get the fuck out of here. But here I'm mumbling about the details which bother me, and basically it's the very, very same issue as with this EP. Sometimes a little less is better, and I think going for 6 minutes almost per song here with this given style is just too much. Get rid of the bulk riffs, get rid of the filler riffs, and focus on the killer parts, and get rid of also the useless guitar solo. They are not good. You don't have to copy Kerry King with that respect. Now, if you're to figure out which one can you afford, if you are done pointing at your head and you can only choose one, which one you could go for? I would say, sorry Finnish people, but I would go with the United States one. However, these are quite close to one another in style and quality, so there's not big. This is a little bit trashier, and that's probably why I like it a little bit more, whereas this is more bulkier and also a little bit weaker when it comes to production. But if you're into more death doom with some sprint parts where it gets faster, then go for this one. Trashier, doomier. Old school death metal as it gets. So both are out through Godz of War Productions. Now clickety-click, links are provided in the description box. Off you go, listen.